Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavill, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna. Listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU Sports Lab, with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, and I'm time.
Welcome to episode 85 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from NAIA to NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, alongside with my co-hosts, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSUH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Let me give a shout out to a couple of folks on here before I come to you. Charles, because I know your chest is all out, still recovering. You still got that beady head, the beady eyes. I know you're excited. But I got brother Edwin Drayton, frat brother twice over, Epsilon Gamma Iota, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. We had great dialogue this past week, just all things, his experience coaching youth sports, his experience none other than, as you would have it, Coach Prime, as we are calling it. But just all things, you know, his sons have done tremendously well. He's helped a lot of students continue their careers at the collegiate level in terms of Division I scholarships, really scholarships all over the place out of the greater Dallas Metroplex, as they like to call it up there, that area. So his sons are doing significant things along with the other young athletes he's tutored and fastened into being really great men. And I have to give credit to his wife. She would put me on blast if I didn't make sure JERICHO Drayton, excuse me, in regards to the love that she's always done for us. She's also my sister in Epsilon Gamma Iota, just to let you know how small the world is. But he has sons over there in the Pac-12. I won't give out the designation because they're putting in power moves, so we hadn't talked about that yet. But I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out if you do a little bit of your homework. We always like to put you to work on this show. But with other folks, we want to make sure we give them love too. Maya Jenkins, Chuck Hunt is always in the house, one of the first to show up, continuous to give us updates and news and different connections around the world. Man, you talk about a person that is connected with sports in so many different ways. You got to say Chuck Hunt, man. He really gets it done. Paul West, J.N. Henderson. Yeah, Chuck. As you know, we got to give him a shout out. Checking in from Monroe, Louisiana. Wouldn't be right if we wouldn't give his location. You know, he lets everybody know. George Walker, Erica Barfield Lee. I told you about Ed Drayton, Erica Goldsmith, Ricky Burton. Willie Alex Hine. Good evening, gentlemen. Checking in from Richmond, Virginia. That is CIAA country. Yes, it is. Here to be informed on the latest HBCU sports news. Yes, that's the plan. That's what we're going to give you there. Tommy Gosha in the house. Edwin Drayton. DeSoto in the house. Keela, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Johnson Butler, I know she'll straighten me out. And sorry if I didn't do that justice. Chuck Hunt, we talked about those. Wendy Jenkins Bishop on here. Drew AD, part of our other colleagues and crew over there with Brian and the AD on Sports Rap right here with BCSN, giving you that HBCU sports. Norwood Bird, LaShant Harris, John Jenkins, Reginald Johnson, Tony Daniels, Reginald Johnson, Jalen Riley, Michael D. Jones. Man, boy, you talking about there's not one better in the business that shoots the camera like
yes,
boy.
Indeed.
Jones, he got some stuff out there that I just marvel at. Tyler Carr, what's up, Doc? You know, bringing it over there on HBCU Game Day. I get to partner with that team over there on No Huddle, man. Check them out on Aspire every Sunday, man, doing dynamic work out there on the television screen, boy. And they got me teasing out trying to give this professorial look as I give them the sensitive word of the week. That's been comical the last couple of weeks. We'll see if we can continue that. Daryl Terrell, Erica Goldsmith, as I said, Ricky Burton. Keep it coming. We're going to give you a shout out. That's Graham Fam checking in. Yeah, y'all got a big recruit. We're going to cover that news for you. With that, Charles, give us some HBCU sports news of the day.
Sure thing, Dr. Cabill. Well, we start out on a bit of a somber note as we had a couple of prominent deaths this past week in the HBCU world. Former Oilers defensive back, Bob Atkins, the former great Grambling defensive back. He passed away at the age of 74. He was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in 1968 out of Grambling. I played 2 years with the Cardinals, but he was traded to Houston. He played 7 years in Houston, appeared in 114 games. 40. He had starting 49. He had 19 interceptions. He retired after 1976, where he went on to become assistant football coach and head women's basketball coach at Prairie View. He resigned from those positions and he took over director of athletic operations in 2005, and he retired in 2011. So Bob Atkins, the great Bob Atkins from Grambling. So condolences to the Graham fam in regards to the passing of Bob Atkins.
No doubt about it. As you know, I've basically retired my NFL fandom, but I think you would appreciate this. So would Mike. You know, generally y'all used to seeing the triplets, as you would, right? Mike Washington is on assignment, working on some things with the family in regards to his son, making sure that they can get what they need to get done in terms of the sporting activities. And so he claimed he's on the road, so we're going to see if we can get that done with him without bringing him to the table today. But one of the triplets are going in terms of in the lab mix, so we'll try to hold it up for Mike there. But as we do that, give some more shout-outs, and I'm going to come right back to you with some other news that you might want to share as we start to get prepared for what we hope you see as a great interview. And shout out to Thomas White Jr., Kimberly Runner. She's the national president, alumni president of Prairie View A&M University, getting it done over there in so many different ways. Boo Harris Jr., Thomas White Jr. on here, Jesse Bishop, Charlotte R. McGinnis,
Mom and sister.
Gary Wright, Ralph Cooper checking us out. Yeah, so your team, you brought your team with you today. They must have heard some good news. You see, I was so nice to y'all last week. I put on the cap. I couldn't do it 2 weeks in a row, but I still put it in the background. And wearing it, I took off my red shirt. I was all in. I told you it was just about this long, this quick. I'm already tired of Jackson State. They all over the place. Can't get enough news. It's good stuff. I'm like, wow.
I got the whole team in here, Doc. Mom, sister, wife, sister-in-law, everybody. Everybody's watching tonight.
Oh, yeah. I like it. That's right. Get it up. Get it up. Bring it on. Welcome.
No doubt.
To the Bishop.
No doubt.
Yes. What they say, Team Bishop. With that, I did want to say today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics, as you know. With that, what other news do you have of the day?
Sure thing. And we mentioned that we started out the show on a bit of a somber note with the death of Bob Atkins, but also another passing within the HBCU universe, the great and iconic Gale Sayers. He passed away this past week. Of course, he served as Director of Athletics at Tennessee State, 1985, 1986. So definitely wanted to send condolences to the Tennessee State University family in regards to the passing of Gale Sayers, one of the most iconic running backs in the NFL, the Kansas Comet, Chicago Bears, everything that you see with Barry Sanders, we saw it first with Gale Sayers, with the change of direction, the speed, the elusiveness, and just one of the most iconic running backs that the NFL has ever seen.
No doubt about it. But as we do on this show, it's HBCU sports. He was iconic, but it always seems to be a way to have that tie to HBCUs, just to let you know how important it is. People may not realize, certainly probably have read after the fact, that he was the athletic director at Tennessee State for a couple of years during his career. So he has a tie with HBCUs. So certainly appropriate to provide those condolences to his family and his fans, obviously, with so many out there. Before I pass it back, I wanted to say this, you talk a little bit about Florida Memorial. They are the single HBCU that is finding a way to play football this season. And it's big for them. This is their inaugural season after like 60 plus years. It's been tough. As you bring back a program, you know how much it takes to get competitive. So it's not necessarily in regards to what they're getting done in terms of wins and losses, but the fact that they're able to get it back and how much excitement they're bringing in. So Florida Memorial's offense struggles, falls to Weber International 56-7. They did get on the scoreboard. It was a special teams touchdown. First one in the modern era, if you would allow me to use that framework. But a bigger note I do want to put out there, in partnership with BCSN, Black College Sports Network, during FMU, they are hosting their first homecoming game in 62 years. On Saturday, October the 3rd, that is this Saturday, and they will have their only HBCU homecoming with a actual football game. We know that a lot of people are talking about doing virtual homecomings and things of that nature, but this will be a physical homecoming in regards to surrounding the game. And for them, this is really big, as we said. First one in 62 years. Just think about this, 6 decades, right? On Saturday, and they would like the entire HBCU family to support them. You can check them out if you want to get a little taste of football, Black college football, HBCU football, as we say. Black College Sports Network will be airing the contest. So go to Black College Sports Network this weekend, this Saturday, and check it out. You can get some information all week long to make sure you get the time of the events and everything surrounding it, I should say. And so I did want to sneak in a little plug for that, just to acknowledge Florida Memorial in terms of that, as they played sophomore, freshman quarterbacks, Antoine Williams, Jordan Elliott, and DeMarcus McGarren getting in there, getting in the action, trying to find their way in a lot of ways. Very young team, as you imagine, as they started off. But bigger and better things will come as they continue to build that program. And they're getting it done. They've been able to do it in a safe manner. So kudos for them for being able to support students in a way that they are able to get it done this fall. With that said, let's go back to you, Charles, with some more news of the day.
Sure thing. Well, we take a look at Grambling again. Noah Biden. He was the #1 quarterback in the state of New York. He commits to Grambling State. He's a pro-style quarterback. He selected Grambling over Power 5 schools, including Arizona State, Baylor, Oregon, Tennessee, and Purdue. So Grambling getting it done in the offseason. Commitment from the #1 quarterback in the state of New York, Noah Biden.
Another case. We keep seeing these, so this no longer looks like, in my opinion, like an accident, that these things are just happening. This looks more purposeful, and people are, for whatever various reasons, are looking at HBCUs. Obviously, in this case, signing with HBCUs opposed to FBS and historically white colleges and universities, even at the FCS level. So it'll be fascinating to continue to look. And when you get somebody of this caliber, it is worthy of news. Mac Prep's quarterback, rating of 92, as you said, his junior year. He racked up 2,840 yards and 23 touchdowns. You know, just amazing over 10 games. This is a stud. I love the fact that he was coached by Grambling's own Bruce Eugene.
Bruce Eugene, yes indeed.
Always nice to have a little nudge in there by alumni that actually paid for the school and being like, hey man, you might want to look over there. You know, I did pretty well for myself. You know, I'm making a nice little career. It's a big over. It's a different type family, man. Now you got the fact, you got the Celebration Bowl. You know, you got everything. SWAC championship game. You got incoming big time with FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. You talking about mega marketing. It looks like new television deals are on the table, at least according to Dr. Charles McCullen. He's looking at that and continues to see what that looks like. And so it'll be fascinating to see where all these things go. I did want to say, we'll dig into this a little more after this, but I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, and people have kind of teased this out there. And I'll start with this, but we'll take a deeper dive. MEAC granted an automatic berth to the NCAA FCS playoffs from the MEAC sports. A lot of people are assuming, and boy, it's amazing to me how things trigger for us, and we automatically go to this like worst case scenario. I mean, our head is messed up in so many different ways. And I don't even want to take the time to do this now, but it's just amazing to me how we just flip the switch and the world falls apart in any moment, any minute for us for so many different ways. But no, I've talked to 3 different sources from the MEAC, from the SWAC, as well as the Celebration Bowl. And you know, when I say I'll talk to them, I'm talking to executive level people, multiple people, i.e. commissioners, associate commissioners, executive directors, and they all told me that the contractual arrangement for the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl is moving forward, that they're expected to make a deal. The deal is looking really strong in regards to what both the conferences want in terms of extending this, what the MEAC, in terms of ESPN Walt Disney, what they want extending it as well. I mean, so this was a 1-year platform for the MEAC, and think about it. It's not really that difficult to imagine. They've already said when they were not able to play the MEAC SWAC Challenge Celebration Bowl in the fall, that they were not going to move it to the spring. They really wanted to keep the framework of it part of the bowl situation, kick things off. And they didn't want to displace it, move it to another different television frame to change the arrangement. So at this point, everything is full steam ahead, and this is just a 1-year notification. But we'll go a little deeper. What does it mean in terms of automatic bid and things of that nature? I think we should be gearing up for our guest. And so with that, let's see if we can get ready to bring on our guest, VP and Director of Athletics, Ashley Robinson. Bring him on to the scene so we can get him going quickly here and get into this great interview. I'm so excited my man, I still need to get my checkbook out, but I think you all.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, no, I think your little checkbook is bigger than mine right now, Charles. He's there. He's making moves. It don't look like he's going in any direction with that.
Oh boy!
And so we'll get him geared up as we had promised everybody in terms of that. See what's going on there. But just tell me, what are your thoughts as we gear him up in terms of the MEAC and that news? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of people are asking the question in terms of what does this mean. You know, you're always going to have those playoff proponents out there, and they are relatively excited to see the MEAC taking a look at playing in the playoffs in this upcoming spring. So I do look forward to that conversation in terms of listening to what does that exactly mean. Is that actually a good thing or whatever going from there in terms of looking at the MEAC taking this dive into the playoffs. I'm always, like you said, Dr. Cavill, kind of amazed at the excitement that kind of happens again when you have people who want to see what HBCU teams do against some of these other conferences that participate in the playoffs. So it'll be a fascinating conversation.
I agree with that. Still getting set up a little bit here in regards to what's going on.
While we're waiting on Ashley Robinson, a couple more tidbits of news, Dr. Cavill, and we mentioned some great things going on around HBCUs, but Chris Paul, he enrolled into HBCU in Winston-Salem State. We saw him all through the playoffs wearing various tennis shoes that had HBCUs on the tennis shoes, and now he's a student at Winston-Salem State. So shout out to the Winston-Salem State Rams.
Yeah, I was fascinated with that. He did that kind of surprise. You know, he's part of ESPN on ESPN Week, specifically with Stephen A. Smith, also alumni of Winston-Salem State. So he was really surprised when he was doing the interview with him, mixing it up a little bit there, and he kind of just slid it in there. Oh, yeah, I'm enrolled at Winston-Salem State. Everybody's like, huh? Oh, really? So he's taking it to the next level. Like you said, all his family, part of HBCU specifically, a lot of them with, in terms of Winston-Salem State. And he has done the educational side as he set up a program, sports and entertainment, with Rock Nation and North Carolina A&T. Then he's also bringing it as well with Winston-Salem State. So he's doing significant things. We've all obviously been enamored with that in regards to what he was doing at Oklahoma City with the Thunder during the bubble. You just didn't know which shoe and which HBCU he was going to wear and adorn with his shoes. So that was quite amazing in terms of what's going on there. As we continue to push through, we're trying to line this all up in regards to see what's going on in terms of the background there. Just checking it out. What other news do you have there, Charles?
Well, and this comes to us from HBCU Game Day, and I'm always appreciative when they share these tidbits of history. And this week in history, September 28, 1985, Grambling State knocks off Oregon State as Eddie Robinson ties Bear Bryant's win record. And I think that's significant. I mean, I remember as a youth growing up in Jackson, and just the pride that you had in this Eddie Robinson going after this record with Grambling. So shout out to the Grambling family in terms of remembering that time period, 1985. That was a tremendous time when you take a look at everything that was going on around the SWAC. You had W.C. Gordon at Jackson State. They were at the beginning of their 28-game SWAC win streak. You had Eddie Robinson with those great Grambling teams, and he's going after a national record as he tied Bear Bryant. So I appreciate HBCU Game Day and Stephen Gaither and those guys over there remembering this nugget in history.
Yeah, it's pretty big time when you talk about the historical facts. The other sad news out there, I'm really fortunate that he signed a deal, as we announced a couple of weeks ago. But Tariq Cohen out for the season with the Chicago Bears as he has a torn ACL. That was disappointing news to hear in so many different ways in terms of what is going on there. We are connecting. I think we're going to be able to get Ashley Robinson on shortly. We had to reconnect with a different setup in regards to get him in, but he just received that information, so we should have that sorted away quickly there as we continue to move around. But just give us a little more as we tune up and get him ready. You know, what is the second week, and what have you been hearing now? We've obviously seen what's going around in terms of the social media platforms in so many different ways with Coach Prime. But what has been the next step this past week, Charles, in terms of what you have been seeing and expectations from that perspective moving forward?
Yeah, tremendous amount of buzz in terms of the offers that have gone out. It's a paradigm shift, if you will, in terms of Jackson State, the HBCU, offering quote unquote 4- and 5-star players. So I think that has created a tremendous amount of buzz around Jackson State's program, Jackson State's fan base, in terms of just thinking of the possibilities. And it's interesting. Some of those, a couple of those players have ties to Jackson State's program. One offer. The young man, his dad played at Jackson State, so I think there's a tremendous amount of buzz going on around Jackson State's program right now in terms of some of the players who've been offered. So I tell you what, just those of us who've kind of grown up in this culture of Jackson State football, Jackson State athletics. I joke with my podcast mates about what a time it is to be a Tiger right now, and Our guest Ashley Robinson has really brought that forth for us.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Ashley, we've always said that he has a penchant to do it big. I mean, he's made some tremendous hires in football over his period of time. Obviously, starting out in a lot of ways, at least my experience starting with Prairie View with Willie Simmons, that really has gotten off to a big step. And then he continued again with his next hire after Willie moved on to FAMU, and just big names. And then he just continues to push that, if you would, in a lot of ways now at Jackson State University. So when you look at what he continues to do in terms of that, I snuck into that little video where he's having Prime come around, and Prime is doing a lot of press, not only nationally, but a lot for Jackson State TV in different ways. The last one I seen was with him, and he went in there and they were doing the renditions, and we kind of teased this out last week that there's some work to be done in regards to the facilities at Jackson State University. So they did the grand finale where they had the blueprints, and they're in this building, open space. You can tell the construction has started out as they're building this facility, and it looked amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people Jackson State are excited about that, while a lot of folks around the SWAC are kind of like, oh boy, we didn't know this was coming this fast. And they actually have, they in the building that they talking about coming up. So I assume that's part of what you were teasing out last week. And if that is, what are your thoughts on that video in per se, or just what's coming up next in terms of Jackson State?
Some of the videos that have come out have been, for lack of better words, just extremely exciting, just in terms of the spin that Dion is able to put on the program. Dr. Ville, it's been a long 7 years, and this is the sort of excitement that I think Jackson State fans have been looking for quite some time, since those SWAC championship days, in terms of people booking their hotels, back in January, just knowing that they were going to be in the SWAC championship. To really get this sort of excitement around the program, I can't even kind of put into words what it means to have an individual like Coach Prime take on the reins of Jackson State's football program. And, for all the glitz and glamour, and I tell people this all the time, they still have to get it done on the field. Their record is what their record is, but they have definitely gotten off to a great start in terms of the foundational things that they need to do to kind of get back in the top tier of the SWAC.
Yeah, that's a great point when you talk about making those moves and what it means to go forward like that. But as we do this, let me get back into this a little bit about the MEAC and automatic berth of the NCAA FCS playoffs and some questions that were out there in regards to those dates. The FCS championship game will be held May 14th, 15th, or 16th. It actually kicks off. They reduced the field from 24 to 16. And MEAC will have their first ever MEAC championship game. They have moved it back 2 weeks, which was corresponding with the same date that the SWAC was having their championship game in the spring, which is for the SWAC April 16 and 18, which was the 16 and 18 in terms of that. So, which will be the MEAC's date that they moved it to, which will be that weekend of the 16th and 18th. And the 18th, which is Sunday, they'll actually have the SEC selection happening for those 16 teams that will go in the playoffs. They'll have 11 automatic bids, so you only have 5 at-large bids, which will be fascinating in terms of that. So the first rounds will be April 24th. Quarterfinals, therefore, will be May 1st. Semifinals the weekend of the 8th. And they pushed the championship back for a couple of weeks to get it in there. And so they will have 8 regular season games across 13 weeks periods in the spring, ending with the weekend, as we said, April 16th and 18th. What are your thoughts about MEAC making an announcement that they're going to have the automatic bid or going for automatic bid to the playoffs when knowing there will be no Celebration Bowl, although they will have the MEAC, first ever MEAC SWAC championship, MEAC football championship game, I should say. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I am excited about the first MEAC championship game. As far as there not being a spring Celebration Bowl, it does make sense, to get an opportunity to play in the playoffs. But I'm on record. I'm definitely a pro Celebration Bowl person in terms of the excitement that we've seen that it brings to the HBCU universe. SWAC versus MEAC. It's a bowl game atmosphere. It's just one of those situations I tremendously enjoy. So I'm looking forward to us getting back to the fall to where we can get back to that Celebration Bowl.
Man, look out. We got the man of the hour. We apologize to you, Ashley Robinson.
No problem.
I sent you the wrong link there. I'm going to blame it on my production in the back. Man, you look sharp. What's all in the background? Y'all done already redid the athletic facility where you...
Well, man, that's just what Tigers do, man.
Over there, boy. I thought our money was big in Texas. What y'all doing up there in Mississippi, man? Come on now. You hold
man, we got people like... Look, we got people like Charles Bishop, man. We good, man. Consistent. We got consistent givers, man.
I don't understand. Last time I was with Charles now, Charles was playing like, man, he was struggling, you know what I'm saying? The dude, we know he got a little funds about him. He got some money. I ain't gonna put all his business in the street. But, the brother frugal, and stuff like that. So I'm putting out my little money in the check. He got this big old nice steak. He's like, thanks, Dr. Cavill. This is good. We need to try this. And all of a sudden, he started asking for this nice, drinks. And, he said, get the steak fixed like this. And I was like, you sure know a lot about steak, but I had no money. Then all of a sudden, he opens up his checkbook, and he start comparing. And, his wallet come out and it's like fat. It said just kind of fall out of his wallet. I say, excuse me, you dropped this. He said, oh, yeah, thank you. So you're right. Get in his pockets. Get in his pocket.
He's doing a great job. He's doing a great job of doing that. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thanks for having me. I'm very proud to be on the show. I got kind of upset, Dr. Cavill. I thought, you had sent me a link, that wasn't working. So I was gonna call Charles and say, man, maybe he's trying to do something to the Tigers, man. What we need to do to make sure we get on this link, but I'm okay now. I thought my long-term friend had did me bad, Charles.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can nudge you back and, give you that little slide. You've been taking care. Then all of a sudden, so I was like, how can I at least make him feel, twist him up a little bit? He having too much fun, too much going right. Let me pass it. And last week, we were going to have you, but I know everybody was pulling at you, so certainly understand And so we're
I
glad to have
appreciate
you
that.
this back. But last week I was
Mm-hmm.
prepared, Ashley. I had my Jackson State cap on. I had a red shirt. You know, I was all
Uh-oh.
Jackson State. I told him it was only going to last for this long now. This long. So this week, I still got in the background. So I'm still Team Jackson
I
State.
see
But,
it.
you
I
know,
see
I
it.
couldn't wear it again.
All right.
So without further ado, welcome to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And we should say just welcome back Mr. Ashley Robinson, as you all know, Vice President and Director of Athletics at the Jackson State University, as they say around those parts. The I love. With that, I'm going to let Charles have the honor, if you would, to open up the interview because he was really important and instrumental about putting this all together and making sure that we can get some time with you this week, as I know so many are calling for your schedule. So I really appreciate you, in all seriousness, getting on here and being able to answer some of these questions that so many people want to know how this all came together. But if you would, Charles, jump in there and start us out, please.
Sure thing, and definitely welcome back, Ashley. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come back on the lab. The first question, obviously, is you've been at Jackson State now for a little while, a unique fan culture, and I wanted to start off by asking, what was it about Coach Prime that you knew would be a unique fit into this HBCU culture?
Well, Jackson State is a blue blood program, and Jackson State has the alumni, the support, to fill a Coach Prime. You look at 60,000 seats. We averaged, 33,000 in attendance last year. We've always had a rich tradition. 4 Hall of Famers, 99 players to get drafted into the NFL. I mean, at this time, with the passion and the excitement and the things that Coach Prime does for young men and young women and what he does in the community and what he's about, and having conversations with him, in the last 2 weeks, and he wanted to be at Jackson State University. And as you know, we have a unique fan base, like you said, Charles. We have a passionate fan base, and we have a fan base that want to win. We have a fan base that very concerned about the tradition, very concerned about how we do business at Jackson State University. And I wanted to bring someone here that really understood what we was doing, but also to build on that tradition that we has as we blaze new trails. And Coach Prime was definitely that person. I mean, you look at some of the things that he's done, with young men and young women, and just hearing some of the stories that he talked about, and the things he's done with his own family, with his own kids, and so respected, not only just in the sports world, but in the world period. He's very, very well respected, and Jackson State deserves that. I have a passionate fan base that's very supportive, and they want to win, and they want to be on top, and they want to be nationwide. And Jackson State deserves that. And it was my job to go out and get someone that put Jackson State on a national level. We're not talking about, just the state of Mississippi. We're talking about the country. We're talking about the nation. And, I'm one of those AD that's always said it can be done at an HBCU. And, and everybody asks that question, hey, how did you hire Coach Prime? I mean, look at the tradition of Jackson State University. I mean, it's a lot of people want to be a part of Jackson State University, including myself. When I started my career in administration, me growing up here and seeing the tradition of Jackson State, who would not want to be a part of that? And when you bring someone like Coach Prime in that already understand that, hey, everything I go out to do, I'm all about success. I've been successful in everything I've done, and that's his message. And I believe, we believe. I mean, you look at some of the things he say, and what really touched me. We made a decision, and he made the commitment to come here. And the first thing he wanted to do, he said, "Hey, I'm calling all the Hall of Famers. I'm gonna call former players and talk to them before, we make this announcement." And he played with Houston Hoover, which is one of our great offensive linemen, which they played together. And we hadn't saw Houston Hoover, I think, in a long time, but he was at the press conference. He came to see his teammates. So, just embracing that, from a nationwide, and Jackson State deserves this. They deserve this. They have been a passionate fan base for a long time, very, very supportive. And and for me, I think it's well deserved. But I think that now it's time for us to definitely wake up, get football right at Jackson State back, bring that tradition back. And Coach Prime was definitely the right person for the job, and some of the things. And we're not going to even talk about the football side of it. the X's and O's. If you sit down and talk football, the brother can talk all day long about football, and he knows football. So, I look at my coaches, I tell everybody as a CEO of the program, and he's definitely a CEO. And it's time for us to start making those type of hires. It's time for us to start, taking those type of chances so we can start to build our programs and we can show people that things can be done at HBCU. It's people that want to be at HBCUs. I mean, it's people that have a passion for helping young men and women, and Jackson State University definitely deserves that. And I wanted to go out and get the best coach at this time for the best job, and definitely he's the best coach. I don't know about you, Charles. I don't know about you, Doc, but I believe.
No, there's no doubt about it. I was told from the press conference. Yeah, I believe. I told you, I wanted to go tackle somebody, but my eligibility is up, and I don't know if I was good enough. Anyway, to be honest with you, since we shoot it straight here, but as I joke, I'm one of those supporters of whatever program. I believe that you financially put where your love is, and so I believe in writing checks. So I was that close. Mm-hmm. I had my pen on the check. Then I realized that's all. No, never mind. That's going the wrong way.
I got a blue pen for you. You can go ahead and write that check.
I believe, huh? So yeah, I know you're gonna try to get that check. No, buddy. I'm good right now. But I did want to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
When how did this all come together? We know that he's the right person. That's why you make the decision. You do all your homework, and people don't realize that when you're in that VP and director of athletics, these are not decisions where you just go flip a coin. Somebody calls you and say, "Hey, I want to be your head coach," or you be like, "I think this guy would be a good coach." You go in there, you do your analysis in regards to where is this program at a given time. What do we need from a booster? You have boosters that provide you different frameworks that you go out and you kind of let them know what you're thinking. You make sure that they're comfortable in some dynamic, or at least understand why you're making that decision. But tell us how this came together. Where did it even germinate from in terms of that? If you can get us into the back rooms of a VP of athletics, the director's sheet. Everybody wants to be in it. Everybody thinks they can be, an internet athletic director, as you know. So at least give us some insight of what that really takes to go through that process.
Well, first, I tell people this all the time. The first piece is you got to have support from your president. And I can say President Hudson was very, very supportive. He's been very, very supportive of athletics and helping me grow Jackson State athletics and being a part of that vision. And that's a big piece of it. When you go out and seek a head coach, which is definitely a big deal for Jackson State University, you have to have the support of your president. And he was very, very supportive. He asked me to go out and find the best coach. When we decide to non-renew our former coach, and we had, all type of coaches reaching out. We had over 100, coaches reaching out. And it shows how attractive the job is. It shows the tradition of Jackson State University. But I was tasked to make sure I bring the best coach in here. And, during that time, I had opportunity to talk to Coach Prime during the time. And I said, hey, Deion Sanders called and said, hey, I'm ready to coach. And I said, okay. I see you have a position open. I'm very familiar with Jackson State. I understand y'all have a audition. And I said, well, tell me something about Jackson State. And he talked about the Hall of Famers. He talked about, the NFL, and he talked about the 16 championships and some of the things that, I said, man, this brother has really done his homework. He really wants to be at Jackson State University. So we talked, and we had some great conversations, some great dialogues, and we had opportunity to meet. During that time, and I was able to take this information back to my president. We was very, very supportive, and my president had the opportunity to meet him as well. And when we sat down and talked, myself and my president and Coach Prime, I mean, it was a no-brainer. I mean, all the things that he was saying, all the tradition, and for me, every coach wants a head coaching job, but a lot of people don't do their homework, and for him to take out the time to do his homework and do some of the things, because as you know, this is not it's not about money for him. This is not about, hey, I need to make this type of money. It's about his passion that he had for HBCUs and his passion that he had to be a head coach. As you know, he was a finalist for, a couple jobs, FBS jobs, moving forward. And those ADs was, very, very successful. One of them was one of my mentors that I talked to, weekly. So just talking to him daily and talking about some of the things he wanted to do and what he wanted to do for the program. And, I look back and I said, it's no other institution, no other HBCU is big enough to handle a Coach Prime than Jackson State University. I mean, you talking about we got enough seats. We can fill it. We can fill the stadium up. We definitely got the alumni base that's going to travel and support. We definitely got enough alumni to come together and support. And we in the capital. We in the city of Jackson. And everybody knows, everybody in the city of Jackson loves Jackson State University. And everybody is waiting on that day. Everybody talks about the sleeping giant. And it's my job to wake that sleeping giant up. It's my job to make the right to hires for Jackson State University, whether they're good or bad. And I have to take, when things are not going so well, I have to be responsible for that. But, I wanted to go out and get the best coach for Jackson State University. And when I talked to Coach Prime, when I talked to him about some of the things that he wanted to do and what he believed in and made it all about the student. And the thing about him that really caught my light, it wasn't all about football. It's about the overall picture for Jackson State University. He wants to help grow enrollment at Jackson State University. He wants to put Jackson State University on the national level. He wants to people talk about resources. Resources are about communication. Resources are not by every a person writing a check all the time. It's about resources is about the people that you know and who you communicate with and who you put yourself in the room with. And he wants to put Jackson State on that level. And when you get a coach that, that's well-rounded and he talks about more than just, football, it's more than about football. I tell every coach that, that's on my staff that, we're here to grow Jackson State University. It's not all about just athletics. It's not all about your sports. And you heard his press conference. He told every coach, and he told Jackson State, I'm here for you. Whatever you need me to do to help you recruit, whatever you need me to do to grow the institution. And that was one of his messages to our president. I will help you grow enrollment. I will help you. I will help grow the institution, and I will put us on a national level. And that was some of the things that really, caught my eye. Like I said, we sit and talk about football. I got to the point where, hey, I don't want to talk about no more football. Let's talk about the history and the tradition of Jackson State. Let's talk about, is this a good fit for Jackson State? Let's talk about that. And all those things, all those boxes was checked. They really were. And you if you talk to a Hall of Famer, Robert Brazile, I mean, very, very supportive, was very happy, for us to, to make this hire and were able to make this marriage great. But, for me, it's about seeing a smile on my student athlete's face. It's about seeing my alumni happy. And it's about bringing Jackson State University together. And I want everybody to know, I'm going to tell you this right here. If we bring everybody together at Jackson State University, I'm telling you, and Charles is my witness, it's no other bigger institution. I'm not just telling you that because I'm the athletic director here. Jackson State is very, very big and rich in tradition, and we have a fan base that's very, very passionate and love Jackson State University. And I tell you what, I'm going to do everything in my power. My goal is to bring all 60 to 70,000 alums together. And I tell you, when that day happens, I know that day is going to happen because we're going to come together. And I know, we have to win championships. I know we have to, that's the first piece. Everybody want to win championships. But when that day comes, and I know that day is going to come because I'm very optimistic and I'm working every day. I had a great lunch today, Charles, with Roscoe Ward. Played in the NFL, no great lunch. I'm working on, talk to Corey Bradford today. I talked to Jimmy Smith. I'm working on the former players. I understand that was a time to where, former players come back and they wanted to be on the field and they wanted to be a part of Jackson State. I'm opening that door. Whatever I have to do to make them feel a part of Jackson State, because this is your institution. This is our institution. You made history at this institution. There's no way that all our people should not be a part of that. We talked about 99 players getting drafted to the NFL. Probably 150, 160 played in the NFL. That's not counting, free agents. So we got a rich tradition, and we're gonna work. That's my goal, to work to bring that back and bring everybody back to one accord. We don't have to agree on everything, but we are a big family. And one thing about Jackson State University, we love athletics, we love football. I mean, we're very passionate, and we don't mind saying what's on our mind. We're gonna do that, and I love it. And being from Jackson, Mississippi, I understand that. I understand the culture. I tell people all the time, you got some things you want to. I keep my door open because it's not about me. I cannot grow Jackson State University alone. I have to have a great staff. If you saw the press conference on Monday, my staff put that press conference together. So that shows, the type of staff that we have as we continue to grow our department. And you look at the alumni base, things are continue to grow. Charles had a chance to come to the golf tournament. It was magnificent. We talking about 35 teams, 48 hole sponsors, 10 title sponsors. We had a great time, and everybody. It felt so good to see some of the faces that I hadn't saw in a long time to come back and support Jackson State University. So that's my ending goal. My ending goal to win championships, graduate student athletes, and bring all my alumni back together as one. And I want to show people, definitely in the state of Mississippi, we're the biggest institution in the state of Mississippi. I don't care what nobody else says. I don't care about Power Fives. I don't care about SEC. It's no bigger than Jackson State University. And I saw it. I saw it as a child. I grew up watching it. And that's my goal, Charles, is to bring that back to Jackson State University.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I believe it's official.
No doubt.
We're going to start calling him Reverend Robinson, Bishop Robinson. Give it in, boy. Reaching out now. I hear you, Robinson. I see you. Quickly, before I pass it back to you, I do have to push on this. I know it's done now. You might not be able to tease us out, but I'd be regret if I didn't ask this. I know it came together, but could you give us any timeline? Is that one of those secret vault type things that you got to keep under the key that we can only read in the book in 10 years? Can you tell us, when did it come together? How did this? Everybody's how did this happen?
Well, I can tell you this.
When
when we made a decision to go in a different direction, my first time meeting Coach Prime was maybe 2 weeks ago, and that's when we started the process 3 weeks ago, and that was my first time saying eye to eye with Coach Prime. And also for my president, I had to give him that vision of, because when you bring someone like Coach Prime to the table, the first thing a president on our level is like, and I'm gonna tell you, you can tell President Hudson is a Jacksonian, because Jacksonians are very passionate about Jackson State University. He was on board. He's like, hey, let's do it. I'm here to grow Jackson State University, and that shows you, he's a Jacksonian. Went to Jackson State, and also, one of the things that I tell people that I brag about with President Hudson and myself, we went to JPS schools. We grew up in Jackson. So we grew up watching Jackson State from a little boy on up. We graduated, elementary, middle school, high school, born and raised in the city of Jackson. So we understand the tradition and those timelines. Once my president was on board, and once, Coach Prime was on board, it was all about, hey, let's get this done. And we talked every single day. I talked to his lawyers and his people every single day, and we came together and President and myself, we got on conference calls, and we say we make this happen, and we sit there and we talked about it. He signed with Barstools, and we said, hey, we're gonna do this on the 21st of September. And I was like, wow, that was very, very creative. That's something that he wanted to do. He's very passionate. He's like, regardless of going on, we're gonna get the deal done by September 21st. So I'm like, okay, that's only about 8 days away, so he coming. I said, President Hudson, he coming, regardless of we got this, paperwork and everything. I was like, he coming. If he telling us when he want to make the announcement, he's coming. So we was very confident on that. And then the weekend before, President Hudson and I, of course, is out there now. Everybody saw the pictures, and we had an opportunity to go to Dallas, and we recorded on Barstools for the 21st. And I think, Saturday evening, maybe that night, I think Coach Prime gave y'all a sneak peek of pictures and put them out there, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, this is for real. This is the truth." So we did that and came back on Sunday and got prepared Sunday night, and Monday morning it was showtime, and I think it didn't really hit me, Dr. Cavill, until I really hit the stage. That's when it really hit me and say, hey, man, this is really real. This is surreal. And then to see the alumni, to see the event that was well put together, definitely during the pandemic. Everything was structured and organized. And anybody know anything about me, I love to be structured. love to be organized because I like to see things. I like to see change. And that was pretty much the timeline. And it took, that amount of time, and we made it happen.
Wow.
I really appreciate you sharing that insight because you can't get that anywhere else. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, because of the relationships we have established with the VP of Athletics and athletic directors, commissioners that trust us in terms of developing a relationship when the appropriate time comes, we can take that deep dive in terms of what it looks like from the scene. So I appreciate you trusting us with that and giving us that insight because that's fascinating to hear. And I can hear the truthfulness and the resonance in terms of how organically that came together where everybody was trying to guess what that looks like. Please, Charles, go ahead and follow up.
Well, you actually answered some of the questions that I had, VP Robinson, but I wanted to ask this. Obviously, Coach Prime is a master marketer, a brand expert, a brand unto himself. But what does it mean to have that sort of muscle in the athletic department now?
I mean, it's very big. I can tell you this, Charles. My schedule has been booked since we made the announcement. I'm talking about booked with people that, for the first 2 years at Jackson State that I called for support and help, basically told me, no, I'll get back with you, Ashley. Now they're at the mercy of meeting with Ashley Robinson. And that shows how big he is from a marketing standpoint, and you're talking about all the businesses in the state of Mississippi are reaching out now. I mean, me, I'm definitely taking advantage of, but my schedule is booked up for the next 2 weeks, with meetings and luncheons and different people and different businesses that want to support Jackson State University. That's how big this move has been, and from a marketing and branding standpoint, I mean, it's surreal because being from Jackson and seeing this and being able to do this at home for me. I mean, it's personal. I go home and every day in the last couple of days, and I look at, and me and my wife talk about this, and I mean, it's just it's amazing. But it shows people things can be done. You have to stay optimistic. You have to continue to work hard. You have to continue to do some of the things, and you can't just put yourself in a situation to where I don't have the revenue or I don't have the budget to do anything that I need to do. I think that's not what it's about. I mean, that's what we're in the job for, to get the revenue. We're in the job to build those relationships. We're in the job to get those resources. It's been funny the whole week. That's all the people want to ask Coach Prime. Well, why, institution, you're going to be lack of resources of Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Power 5. Well, Ole Miss and Mississippi State is lack of resources in the SEC. I mean, you're talking about two of the probably lowest budgets in the SEC. So you're talking about lack of resources. I mean, it's not lack of resources if you do your resource. Resources come about again with relationships, about the hire you make, and about the passion of your program. And that's why I tell people all the time, Jackson State is huge. I'm telling you, if we come together, they're gonna be in trouble in the state of Mississippi because all the revenue is gonna remain in the city of Jackson. And that's my goal, to show people that it can be done at Jackson State University. I don't have to go to a Power 5. I don't have to go to a PWI to show people it can be done. With a hire like this is a stepping stone to show people that, hey, let's build our programs. Let's show. And again, it goes back to the commitment of our commissioner. Commissioner Charles McCullum and the mission that he has for the conference. These are the type of things that he want his institutions and he want us to do in order to build not only Jackson State University, but to build a conference as a whole. And that comes from leadership from your president, great leadership from your commissioner. Now you got ADs that has an open mind that say, hey, we're going to build programs. That's what we're going to do. And then you got alumni that say, hey, it's time for a change. We want to support Ashley. We want to give what we got to give. I have alumni now that call me and say, hey, Ashley, I want to give to Jackson State Athletics. And I tell people, it's not about how much you give. You think about this, Charles. We got 60 to 70,000 alums, probably 50 some thousand registered. If every alum gave $1,000, $1,000 to $2,000 a year to athletics, what would that do for the program? You just think about in small lump sums. You think about
Great point.
$50 a month. it's not about how much you give, it's the volume. And then for your sponsors, if I got 70,000 alumni giving, how many sponsors not going to support that? Because that's the first
Right.
question they're going to ask you. What's your alumni base? How many people do you have supporting your program? And I can put out a list of 60 or 70,000 alums that support the university. That's potential customers for them. So what sponsor would not want to be a part of that? But that is the bigger piece, and that's the message I'm trying to get everyone. It's not about how much you give. It's about it's about being a part of Jackson State University, and everybody can give. But I tell you, word of mouth is very powerful, especially with social media now. Be optimistic and be positive when you're talking about Jackson State University. And some of that takes you a long way. It's people that see that.
Right.
It recruits that see that. So you have an opportunity. We have an opportunity now to take advantage of that, to show people that things can be done here. We know how to run business too. We know how to do things. You look at the press conference. I think LeBron retweeted the press conference and talked about how organized it was and how structured it was and how nice it was. I didn't expect anything else. We're Jackson
Right.
State
Right.
University. That's the way we do business. We the blue blood
Mm-hmm.
program. I mean, and I tell people it's not being cocky. We just confident. That's what we are.
How about
Very
that?
passionate and
Mm-hmm.
very confident fans. And they're very, very supportive. And I tell you, that's what it's going to take for us to go to the next level. And I'm not talking about just SWAC championships. We're talking about, national championships back in those days. And those times, I want to catch those mid majors, catch those ULLs and those Southern Miss and those Texas States, all of them that's trying to schedule us. I want to catch them slipping. I want to show them that, hey, it can be done.
No
We
doubt.
can do this. And that's what it's all about. And that's all of that helps grows the institution. And that's what I want to be able to grow this institution, grow the enrollment, and help the president with his vision of Jackson State University.
Certainly, and that really makes a lot of sense. I wanted to add on to that brand piece with more of the marketing. We've heard Charles tease out that there's a master plan to look at the vision of the SWAC, moving to the FBS. There's no real timetable what that looks like. He said 7-8 years, and if some things come, it may move in a different direction. But I can see this a part of that framing. I understand that the big part is, as you said, looking at competing directly with FBS programs such as Lafayette, Southern Miss, obviously, before you even move beyond that and at the FCS level. But in terms of marketing with the brand recognition, one of the things that was out there was the convoluted framework of currently Jackson State being under the Nike contract, and obviously the relationship with Coach Prime and Under Armour. Can you provide us any information in terms of where you're going to
Well,
move? We just heard about FAMU moving from Nike right to Adidas. Obviously, you signed a major contract with Prairie A&M before you left. When we left out of the Russell deal, with many of the SWAC schools going in Adidas. And can you tell us any update in regards to what that looks like, marketing, in terms of apparel? It's my understanding that the SWAC is finishing up a deal that will be released this week with Academy Sports Plus Outdoor in regards to being able to get our paraphernalia, if you would, in these major outlets. And so now people, that's one of the things that's always been out there, as you know, Ashley, is a concern that you couldn't get the paraphernalia of HBCU's particular SWAC institution. As the SWAC grows in 2021, it'll be 12 institutions. You see, I want to do more expansion. Sorry about that. The 12 major HBCU institutions covering from the Southwest, literally to the South, Texas to Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, all included, this whole southern region of the United States now in their footprint. Talk about, are you moving from Nike to Under Armour? And what does that do? If you do that deal, does that deal become bigger because now you're able to leverage his relationship with Under Armour than before?
Well, I can tell you this, Doc. Ashley Robinson, we're gonna do the best deal that makes sense for Jackson State University.
Gotcha.
That right now we are a Nike stool right now, but this is It's all about growing. It's all about enhancing, and it's all about who wants to provide and resources for Jackson State University. I can tell you this, we have two Dick Sporting Goods now. When you open the door at Dick Sporting Goods Jackson State, paraphernalia is all at the front door. So you have to take advantage of when it's hot. We're all in the city when it comes to gear and apparel, and right now apparel is a big deal. It's a big recruiting tool. Your athletes, that's something that they lean on. But I can tell you that Jackson State will take the best deal that's going to be the best resources and the best support for our coaches and our student athletes. So, at this present time, at today, we are Nike. That could change tomorrow. That could change Thursday. That can change Friday. I've always been honest with you all because you always been honest with me. Cause I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and be like, Ashley told I'm with Nike today. And right now at 7:02, I'm with Nike, Doc.
Hey,
that works.
The phone is up, and we will let him go to take the phone call. But with that, if you would, please stick around. We're going to take this break as we are coming off of our live broadcast. This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop as our guest. We have the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Jackson State University. We were signing off on KSWH 1230 AM, the radio side, as we come to a close. Give us a couple of minutes as we are coming to a close with KSWH 1230. Houston studio, Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper and the beautiful home, I should say, of Texas Southern University, right here in Houston, Texas. We'll be back after this break. This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're here interviewing our guest. That is the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Jackson State University. He is being interviewed by one of his own, I believe, brother Charles Bishop to me. So I'll give it back to him as we start to call him Professor Charles Bishop, working on that doctorate. Boy, I see you putting in that work. But if you would, please continue with the interview. And Ashley, I thank you for being so frank and really taking us inside in so many different ways in regards to what that looks like. Because these are so many questions that people ask in regards to why Dion, and I think you're diving in that. Obviously, people are going to have the naysayers. You're going to have people that think you should do it the other way. But you were frank about that, too. You grew up in it. You believe what Jackson State believes. You believe it was a match in regards to what it works out to in terms of the brand. And ultimately, like you said, that you have to deal with what this decision will mean going forward. And we just saw a video today in regards to the facilities and everything that comes with it. So you're looking at all the resources necessary to support this move in so many different ways. So I wanted to get that on the table in regards to there's not just one thing in terms of what you coach. Any coach that you put out there, you're taking a risk management analysis. The world in this business has been perfect on every coach they hire out of the business. So I'm only bringing on this table not because of you, but I'm talking about what I teach in terms of the business of sport and sport management. We go in this and we talk to young folks that you were talking about that will watch this video and that aspire to get to your level at one point and enter in the business. And I think it's important for them to understand that when you go about that, you're going to take some risks in terms of that analysis. And so that is just part of the business. And it sounds like you did that due diligence, and we'll see. In terms of that, time will tell all, and it's a great opportunity. Charles, if you would continue with the interview, as we will hold you over for about 15 minutes afterwards, if you would, and then we'll give you some last parting words based on your time, if that would work for your schedule.
Sure thing. Well, I wanted to ask this question, and you touched on it in terms of the relationship with Mr. Thomas Hudson. And it's one of the things Dr. DeVille kind of brings out on the show in terms of administrations lay the groundwork. They lay the foundation for championship programs. And you touched on yourself being a Jackson Public Schools graduate, Mr. Thomas Hudson, Jackson State alumnus and Jackson Public Schools graduate. That relationship, you guys seem to work so tremendous together in terms of moving Jackson State forward. Kind of talk a little bit about how you guys have just done yeoman work in terms of putting things together for Jackson State athletics.
Well, when I came to Jackson State, Thomas Hudson was one of the first people I met. As you know, he was a special assistant to the president, so he oversaw all the contracts and all the day-to-day operations, and also he was interim and overseeing athletics before I got here. So he kind of understood the athletics and when you have a president that really understands the relationships of athletics, but he has a vision for Jackson State University, and not just for athletics, but as the institution as a whole. And he's all about growing Jackson State. He's a product of it. He's very passionate about it, grew up around it. But just his knowledge, his experience, his tradition, and the things that he knows about Jackson State. I mean, the one thing about Jackson State, you really have to understand the tradition. You really have to do some deep diving. You really have to talk to some alumni and supporters to understand why they're so passionate, to understand why, you might it's going to be some rough days. It's going to be some days that you're going to get some calls and people want to ask questions of why you're doing this and why are you doing that. And, that communication piece and understanding, exactly what Jackson State needs, but also not just understanding that, but understanding how to grow Jackson State University. And that's the biggest piece. That's his passion. He has a great vision, and it's all about the students for him. And, anybody knows me, I have that same passion. Every decision I make is going to be for my student athletes, and it's all about my students. And we connect well when it comes to growing Jackson State, when it comes to the vision of Jackson State, when it comes to students first at Jackson State University, and that's one of the things that he understands, and as a leader he supports. I mean, he don't just talk it, he supports it. And and some of the things that I want to do to grow the department, I have to sit down and explain and talk to him, but he gets it. And that's what Jackson State needs right now. We need someone that's going to be about growing Jackson State University. Everybody wants to be a part of Jackson State when it comes to being a president, when it comes to being an athletic director, when it comes to being a coach, because of the rich tradition that Jackson State has. But it's time now, as when you have individuals at the at the institution, that's decision makers, that saw Jackson State grow, saw the glory days, grew up around Jackson State, knows the passion, knows the alumni, can communicate with alums, and also can show people that, hey, I know exactly what needs to be done here. Just trust me. Let me put some things together. We're going to communicate with you. We're going to bring everybody together. And at this time, this is what Jackson State University needs. I mean, if you think about it, with Jacksonians and with people that grew up in the area, that went and got experience and came back, and now they understand what's going on. It's no better combination to help grow Jackson State University. And that's what you need at Jackson State. Because I understand Charles will tell you, we do not play. We don't play at
Right.
all. And I have some rough days to where hey, Ashley, why are you doing this? Why are you have to communicate with them, and you have to tell them exactly what you're doing. And once you communicate and they understand where you're coming from, and I tell people all the time, one thing I tell my alums, I'm always open. I'm not that AD that don't listen. I'm all about listening to the tradition. And that's the same thing you get from President Hudson. Products of Jackson, Mississippi. Products of growing up on that campus at Jackson State. My dad worked there 13 years. I was on campus every summer. Every summer I was there at Jackson State. So I understand the tradition. He understands the tradition. I think that's why we work so well together, because we really understand what you have to Jackson State forward.
Sure thing.
Well, I know you have a good professional relationship with the provost over there. So if there's an opening, I am the dean of the HBCU sports. So if y'all want a HBCU sports studies program, academic program, I'm open. Jackson seems like a beautiful place to live. Charles told me a lot about it, so don't be surprised if you need a dean of a new college over there since y'all doing all this growing and for the students. I'm just saying.
Well, I believe, Dr. Cavill.
Perfect answer, boy. But I'm happy at Texas Southern University. I just thought I'd tease out there a little bit. But in all seriousness, in regards to what that looks like moving forward, I did want to ask a question in terms of what's the next step. And before you do that, the Hall of Famer, as you know, Ralph Cooper, he had a question that he wanted to ask. And he wanted to know, when is Jackson State coming back to Texas, Prairie View or Houston? When can we expect the football team in this to be back on this side? And the new configuration, as we know it, that would be West Division matchup with Jackson State. Can you give us any indication on when that may take place?
Well, now, with the expansion of the conference, as you know, we're moving to the east, and the Texas schools are on the west. So, there might be some matchups in the upcoming years, but it won't be, consistent every year with us, coming to Texas coming to us. But we do have cross division, and as you know, two of our cross divisions is no and ifs buts about it is going to be Alcorn and Southern. If we have to schedule ourselves due to the rivalries that we have. So, we will see how that would work out. Of course, we would love to come to Texas. We love coming to Texas. As you saw last year, Dr. Cavill, we love coming to Texas. So, that wouldn't bother me a bit.
I need a little more. You left a lot of people's faces on the ground.
I know where you're trying to get at.
That wasn't right. That just wasn't right.
But
didn't even come up to the press box where you did after teasing a little bit. Coming down there, I got out of there so fast. I didn't even get to see you after. I didn't want to see that smile on your face.
Why did you leave so fast?
I left Charles there with the tent. I said, you can
fast?
have all the drinks. You can have everything, all the food. I said, just share it with everybody. Just share it. But I did want to give some love.
But
Thomas Jones says a possibility. Kay Johnson was talking about, yes, Dr. Cavill. So Russie is talking about, we appreciate you, A.D. Ashley. We are grateful for your open door policy. Dr. Charles, don't forget me and Charles Bishop. So, yeah, everybody recruiting, everybody ready to come to Jackson right now. So you got a lot of folks that are chiming in. I did want to give some of those Jacksonian JSU folks letting you know that they are supporting you and all in, as you say, and they certainly, I believe, in so many different ways. So I wanted to give that before I shot it back to Charles, unless you had some comments about that, Ashley.
That shows the passion of Jackson State University, and I'm gonna tell you, I love my alumni, I love my fans because we're just so passionate, and it's great to be a part of a program. I'm gonna tell you, it's a breath of fresh air when you're an athletic director, when you know you got an alumni base that really supports you, and you're talking about 30,000 plus strong. Every time you move, every time you play, every time you travel, that's a big deal. That's really a big deal, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And I want to just thank my alumni, thank my student athletes, because I cannot get this done without the support of my alumni. And I have great alumni base, great national alumni president, Dr. Norwood. I mean, we have great support, and we have people that love Jackson State University, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
Matthew Bradford jumping in here talking about yes. So boy, they coming out the woodwork, boy. I'll tell you, go ahead, Charles. Follow up, man. Y'all making me nervous, man. The house is too much all this blue around here, boy. I tell you.
Well, I will say this, as an alum and as a kid who grew up in Jackson during the '80s, during the heyday of Jackson State football, especially the 28-game win streak. I probably speak for a lot of alums right now. We really appreciate the fact that you guys have brought so much excitement back to Jackson State athletics, Jackson State football especially. It's been a jolt in the arm, if you will, and looking forward to a continued growth pattern that you guys have started. Dr. Cavill, like I said, he mentions that the administrative part is the foundation, and now we got to get it done on the fields and on the court. So really appreciate everything that you've done, A.D. Robinson.
I want to follow up before we let you out here and give you a chance to say some parting shots and closing up. You know, the big kickoff weekend in Florida, 2021. I know we have a spring season that a lot of people are excited about, and we'll get a chance to come back and really open it up. As Jackson State is actually at this time playing 8 football games, open up with Edward Waters. So a tremendous spring schedule. Will be fascinating. You were able to get Southern on the schedule. I thought that was significant in regards to working that out, particularly in this environment, COVID-19. It made a lot of sense in regards that if you're going to be able to space people out, that you take advantage of the stadium, as you talked about earlier. So many things that make Jackson State the right fit that are uniquely in that position. But shooting out to 2021, when everything takes place, and obviously, you know, I mean, I don't know how much more you can be an HBCU SWAC fan in regards to spring 2020, 2021 and then fall 21. But you got the Orange Blossom Classic. FAMU, your good friend, coach that you brought to Prairie View, Willie Simmons. He's head coach at FAMU now. Obviously, you have a great relationship with the athletic director down there, VP Gaucher, in terms of what he's building. And boy, the rivalry that's already taken off in terms of recruiting battles with Coach Prime out of the Florida. Obviously, he's going after 5-star, 4-star, any star, all-star. It seems like he don't care. But man, Miami, the way Jackson State fans travel, the Orange Blossom Classic, all the history. I mean, you can go back to the opening playoffs in '79 at the FCS, the semifinal classic that was played between FAMU and Jackson State. As you talk about the history, I know my history for those folks out there. Semifinal matchup. People still looking at that day where FAMU ultimately got it done and literally won a championship. So many people said that was the championship game. They should have had the teams on the opposite division, but that's another discussion that we know went down.
1962, Dr. Cavill.
Oh, yeah.
1962, Roy Curry, Orange Blossom Classic, Jackson State, HBCU national champion. No doubt about it.
Facing off against FAMU, that's another part of the history, digging a little further in that crate. I like the way Charles bring it up. And you had a great interview on the 1400 Club, short plug in terms of that interview for people to go back to really experience what life was like at Jackson State in terms, literally a star that, unfortunately for him, in terms of the position, was ahead of his time. But as we move it forward, 2021, Ashley, talk about that matchup. Why is that so exciting? Why did that make sense to get that done? You literally opened up the conference. You know, you started that and you experienced that here in Texas in the Labor Day Classic with Texas Southern and Prairie View. So you're familiar with, you know, how that can be so exciting to open up the season with a conference game. And now you do it against FAMU. Wow. Talk about that potential matchup.
I think, just like you talked about the history, anytime you have, the history of FAMU and Jackson State, which is a big history. And when they talked about bringing that classic back and had a chance to talk to them, we've been talking about this for 2 years now, about this classic.
Wow.
And that was one of the reasons that, we wanted to bring it back, because we thought it was a great tradition between the two institutions. We thought this would be something big. At the time, we never knew that FAMU would be a part of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And I think we did it as a non-conference game. And I think it's going to end up being a conference game. So I think that was, great forward thinking. I think this is something that our alumni and our supporters want. I think Labor Day weekend in Miami, I have alumni already calling me about the host hotel, and our people are already ready to travel and start preparing for it. But I mean, you can't beat a classic of Jackson State and Florida A&M. You talk about the history, and you go back and look at the games that we have. I know in 18 we went down to Florida A&M, and it came down to the last seconds of the game. We was fortunate to come out of there with a win. But you're talking about two great coaches. People know how I feel about Coach Willie Simmons, one of the greatest offensive minds in the country. He does a really, really good job with his student athletes. One of my first coaching hires, and And now you got Willie Simmons and you got Coach Prime. You got the battle of the Florida guys. Fort Myers and Coach Simmons from the tussle from the area of Florida A&M. So, it's going to be a great weekend. I think you're talking about, it's going to be great fan support. I think it's going to be, both institutions are going to travel. I wouldn't be surprised if it's sold out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's packed. I know it's going to be a lot of Florida A&M and Jackson State Tigers in Miami that weekend. And I know Jackson State is coming. I can't speak for Florida A&M. We're going to challenge them to be on their way. But, I'm going to challenge my alumni fans. Let's go 40, 50 strong in Miami. Let's show people what we all about. Let's open up that weekend in Miami, and we're going to make it a celebration for us as well. But that's something that when I looked at the history of Jackson State and Florida A&M, that's something that I really wanted to bring back. And that's where that conversation came from, and we was able to get it done.
Man, you starting to really put it together with your coaching trees, coming back. Willis Simmons and what he was able to do. Obviously, Eric Dooley building the program over there. Coach Byron Smith on the basketball. Brought 2 championships to Prairie View. Regular season championships and the tournament championship. Obviously, Jackson State on the women's side, regular season championship. I see your resume, what you're working with there.
Dr. Cavill, don't leave out my smaller sports. We had, at PV, we hadn't won a golf championships in 30 or 40 years. We won golf championship in 2 years, softball championship. Coach Bland, which is alumni of PV, soccer coach I hired just won a soccer championship. Coach Raven Justice at Sam Houston, she just was coach of the year of the Southland. So we have a tree, but that's my passion. And my thing is, it's not about me. It's about supporting our coaches and our student athletes to help them be successful. And I want all my coaches to understand that when you work for Ashley Robinson, it's about supporting you and giving you what you need to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did that on purpose in regards to that, and I'm glad that you brought in the other sports as I was going to continue to dig down the tree. But in regards to those questions in terms of the athletic director and going into your mindset, I thought it was important to level set for some people to understand, the decision you make. And like you said, you don't always get winners. Because, it's a toss-up. But when you can start laying that foundation, that there's something that about understanding the culture of a program, a particular sport, because you've done it against various sports, you've done it at various institutions, gives a breadth to understand your knowledge about that. And this is not even talking about your background in terms of you traveling up the compliance side and what you have done and continue to do at Jackson State in regards to the compliance side of what a lot of people will say. And I think that is a statement in and of itself. So just curious about that. But before we close up, as we're coming up to it, I did want to give you the floor and talk about that. But let me make sure before I do that, Charles, is any other following questions you wanted to add before I turn the floor over to a VP of Director of Athletics, Ashley Robinson, to give a closing statement?
No, I definitely want to allow VP Robinson the floor to lay out his vision, if you will, of Jackson State athletics moving forward.
Well, definitely very excited. October the 1st. Mark that on your calendar. It's going to be a great day. Season tickets will go on sale for the spring. We would do some facility renderings on October the 1st. So that's going to be a great day for us. Facilities are very big in athletics. That's part of my vision and my goal as we continue to build on this tradition and blaze new trails. So looking forward to everyone purchasing their season tickets to support Jackson State University. Like I said, again, they will go on sale October the 1st. And also be on the lookout for the facility renders and upgrades on campus. So that is something that I'm very, very proud about with the facilities and some of the things that we are doing to moving forward. And I think that would be a great thing. And I'm asking everyone to come out and support. We still have the COVID-19 relief fund going on. We asked 10,000 alums to give $50 a month from August to December, which will raise about $2.5 million to support the revenue loss of athletics during this time. And I want to thank my alumni and supporters and former student athletes for their support. And they have been very, very supportive in that COVID-19 relief fund. Everybody is coming out, and so my message as we close is I just want to thank my alumni. Truly very passionate, and thank you for what you do for Jackson State University. And thank my student athletes and the things that they do on and off the court for Jackson State University, and all our supporters and everybody that loves Jackson State University. It floors me to see people very excited about Jackson State University. Everywhere I went for the last week or so since we made the announcement, and since I've been here, even before the announcement, people are very excited about the vision that the way we're going, where we're going, and what we're doing moving forward. So I want people to continue to support. It's as we say, Charles, JSU strong. There's no other institution that is strong as just Jackson State University, and we're going to stay JSU strong. And Dr. Cavill, inside HBCU Sports Lab, I appreciate you and Charles what y'all do for HBCUs, getting the message out there, getting the real message out there. As you say, you got a lot of internet guys out there that want to put releases out and want to claim that, but you bring the individual to the show and you have some real conversations, and I appreciate you guys for that, because that's what we need. We need people to put the right message out there and to support all our HBCUs. So I encourage all our coaches and athletics directors that support inside HBCU Sports Lab. I think you all have done a really, really good job in supporting athletics and showing people that, hey, we're going to get the truth, and we're going to talk to the individuals that work at the institution, and we're going to get the message out there, and we're going to talk about the things that go on at HBCU. So kudos to you guys. I really appreciate that. That's big. As you know, this is a social media world. Everybody thinks they know something. They want to put it on social media. So, I want to thank you guys for always being honest, always showing class, and being very, very professional in supporting all of our HBCUs. And as I always say, Charles, I'm going to add something to that. I always say go Tigers, but I tell you what, I believe.
You better believe. I believe.
I like it. I believe. There you go.
Yes, indeed.
I'll say that. Go Tigers. Thank you, VP and Director of Athletics at Jackson State University, Ashley Robinson, finding a way to get it done. I'm still going to push you to get into that executive doctoral PhD program over at Jackson State. I'm going to give you a little time because I know you just been through the ringer. So we'll work on that after you round all this out and make some of those deals with all those folks coming at you that want a part of Jackson State University. Close those out because that's necessary. Then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about that plan. So I got you. We got to keep this going on all seriousness, because we're going to develop this sports studies PhD program, EDD program. And so we're going to need some people. The way we look at it, we don't only want those researchers in the program. We want some practitioners teaching our students about the culture of athletics, particularly from an HBCU perspective. So we're going to change the game on this side from an academic and research perspective, because I had a chance to talk with you. So I want to say thank you for buying into my vision in regards to what that looks like and why that's so important. So as we say seriously, go Tigers, because we mean that around these parts. We want HBCUs to be successful. And so that means taking a deep dive and getting interviews so people can tell you what is really inside the mindset of making deals like this happen, and what it takes to get these deals done. So with that, we'll close out. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, the Dean of HBCU of College of HBCU Sports, with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As we come to a close, we hope you enjoyed the interview with none other than VP and Director of Athletics, Ashley Robinson, at the Jackson State University, the I love, I believe. We look forward to the next week as we discuss the latest news on the lab and in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. You can also go to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 to follow us on Twitter for information directly regarding the lab. Or you can follow us if you ain't not able to catch us live. You can go to YouTube and catch it on that platform as well. And obviously, if you're moving around, much like Ashley, because you're always trying to get it done, you can't catch us live all the time, but you can catch us at a podcast. Check out Spreaker.
There we go.
So you need that. And check out Charles and his team as he's doing on the 1400 Club. Check that out, especially since we got many of the Jackson State fans here. He's doing a great job with his team to give you that information about Jackson State, the inside scoop, stuff that you can't get in social media. You need to go there, because if anybody's going to have the news first, they certainly going to have it correct. Go to that man and that team, 1400 Club, if you want to know what's going on with Jackson State University. They going to know, because they get to go directly to Ashley. And he told you, he's listening. His door is open. So that's how we're going to do it around these parts in regards to what. And we got one coming. 1876, we got one coming from Prairie View. And any other people out there that are listening and want to develop a podcast for their athletic program, come talk to me. We're going to develop those platforms so we can get those out there, so we can have a platform for our HBCU institutions. And we have a platform big enough for that, BCSN. We can talk about streaming it. We have a platform to get all that done. So if you're talking about how to change the game and you're serious about this, talk to us at THG, because we are talking about the THG network, and we're going to start something that you hadn't quite seen before in partnering with BCSN that's going to be bigger than ever. So keep your eyes open, keep the plug, and come on in and mix it up in the lab. That'll do it for us. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course lecture
dismissed. Go Tigers.
YT Productions.
Go Tigers.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it.